Welcome, everybody. Thanks for riding the transcendental waves of revolution. I'm Jeff Bailey.
And I'm Michael Burrows. Today we're going to be talking about some things military. I was in the Army for 16 years. I enlisted, then I became an officer, and I became the rank of captain. I had command time. I was a Iraq veteran. I was over there in 2010 and 11. And I joined the Army because I thought the military was this force for freedom and liberty and and peace. And it's kind of weird, peace in war. But I also escaped to get out of poverty too because the army at the time, didn't pay bad, and I was poor. But then I started to find things out when I was in the army about the history of the military, and then how the present condition was almost a mirror reflection of some of those past things that I read about or watched documentaries about. And so it's just the timing of it. It was so weird. I was questioning, why am I in this? Because it's not what I originally thought it was. That the Army was like, your services are no longer needed. And so I got my honorable discharge. And at the time, I almost fought to get back in to finish out my 20 years. But then I just decided to go to the VA. And then I just got that disability rating. So then I was like, I'm not going back in. And so I think a lot of people look at the Army in different ways. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, personally, I almost joined the military, but found marijuana before I did. Luckily, I think. But first, I'd like to say thank you for your service and thank everyone out there who's ever served the military. We might say some things here in this episode that might sound like we don't support the military, but first and foremost, I respect every service member out there. I think that the system is set up to take advantage of people who are willing to serve their country, and I think that's a travesty.
Oh man.
But you know, September 11th happened our sophomore year in high school. I was pretty gung ho. Like I said, I found marijuana my senior year of high school, and man, I'll say that I heard like the song War Pigs and just really listened to that song and how it seems like, somebody as generals gather up their masses and, send them out to fight. And it's just, yeah, I don't know why I'm fighting. And the whole Iraq thing happened before we graduated. So I was pretty down to fight Afghanistan at the time. My country needed me for that. And then I didn't understand the weapons of mass destruction thing in Iraq. So it started to get a little hazy for me, and I ended up deciding I got a football scholarship, or I probably still would have joined too, just because it seemed like all the recruiters were there and they did the ROTC thing. So it's like, might as well. But got a football scholarship, went and did that. Um, but yeah, man, I immediately was pretty excited that I didn't join. I saw, people getting deployed that we went to school with, and I could just see that most people did not come back the same. And it's almost like, once you're an adult and you realize what's happening, it's war, and like you can't expect those people to come back the same. I mean, we'll talk about some stats later. I mean that are pretty stunning that our veterans are not very well taken care of in this country. And I mean, war is just a very scary thing. So I was I was pretty happy not to be a part of it very quickly. And I, like you said, you start seeing like some travesties and lies where our government puts us in position to go fight battles in places we have no business being. It's not a it's not something that you're proud to be a part of.
No, dude. So my therapist, who's also a combat veteran, he says that about 50% of his PTSD patients are from like the physical trauma of war and seeing all that stuff, but the other half, and that's a lot, half of the veterans are suffering from PTSD because the military is not what they thought it was. It's almost like another Vietnam, where it's like just they fed us all these lies that we're going over there for, like you said, weapons of mass destruction, when there wasn't. What did we really go over there for? We went over there to make politicians rich. And
Yeah.
that's what happened. And when soldiers are realizing this, and that's what's fucking with them
That's the
too.
thing is like we're sold. I mean, these young men are sold that they're being heroes and they're out protecting other people from like these atrocities. And then like you said, you go over there and you see all these terrible things and you see, women, children being murdered basically, and you think you're doing it for good, and then you come out of it and you realize that like, oh, the whole reason we were there might not have even been true.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
who
And
am I fighting for? What? And like, I lost friends. Not even that I was seeing all these strangers die. Like, I saw people that I was close to, that I trained with. Like, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, the older you get, and the further away from like that testosterone-driven mind, it's just like I don't understand why we send these people to go die. And when it seems like it isn't for peace or humanitarian issues, it's always for profit. And I mean, you see like stats where, I mean, 30% of veterans suffer from PTSD, 18% of veterans end up homeless, 11% of the homeless population is from veterans. Like,
dude, I'm 100% permanent total disabled veteran with PTSD, depression, and some physical stuff. And I applied for Social Security, and I got denied 2 times, and then got a lawyer, and then got a judge, and the judge denied me, and he said you can go sort grommets. I mean, who uses that term anymore?
you can go be a cog in the machine
I'm,
somewhere.
I mean, it's crazy to. I mean, just it blows my mind how these people in the Bible Belt, especially, just don't care about mental health at all. I mean, that's not a federal thing. That judge is a Tennessee judge. Handling Tennessee cases, and it's just weird that some people would look at mental health that way, especially people we look up to in a position of authority like a judge.
I think, I mean, a lot of people think illnesses or disabilities are only things you can see. Um, that's kind of,
Yeah, and a lot of time war is not that. It's not the things that you can see that affect people the most.
well, no, I mean, there are people that come back with like, arms or legs missing or, obvious physical wounds that happen. And that trauma is all the same. But like, yeah, like, you see such terrible things. Like, I mean,
Right, and that person that's missing that limb, I mean, we can see that, but you don't see all the trauma that that caused. We don't see all this stuff. We just see like, oh man, that guy don't have a leg. We don't see that he done lost 3 of his best friends and all the people he
he's
actually
got survivor's
he's
guilt
got
and
survivor's guilt, or he's got guilt for killing people, or you know, just so many things we don't see, even with that we do see.
and the another thing we tend to not see is that while all this is happening and all these people are suffering, there's trillions of dollars being funneled from our pockets to politicians' pockets or their friends' pockets. I mean, the percentage of like money that the biggest weapons producers in the world make from our tax dollars is astounding. And we pay, I mean, to go to these wars. We pay for it up front in money, we pay for it mentally. Like,
Yeah, we fund more wars than anyone in the world, and that's interesting to think about. That we're taught that we're this free country, but we're really like the biggest dictator in the world. It's like it's our way or the highway, and we seem to be more of a bully than a leader.
I saw something uh, said we've been at war 228 years of our 245 years. I mean, and then you think about, like I was saying, that these Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, the Boeings, these companies would not be able to be in business if we weren't constantly at war.
Dude, that's what really messed with me too. So when I was my last year in the army, I was just doing all this research and stuff. COVID was happening, so I was just like, I got some extra time to learn. And then I saw this thing called Operation Paperclip, and it was about all these head Nazis. And instead of them being punished, like at the Gutenberg trials or whatever that was called, like I had originally thought in school, that's what I was told, that these top officials were like became U.S. citizens and they were given jobs at NASA and the Air Force and all these top government positions. And they were paid nice and they were looked up to and like made awards given and stuff. And when I found all this out to be true, I'm just like, what are we doing in war? Like these guys should have been punished. I mean, we already had them captured. They were already prisoners, but you know, we just gave them jobs and prestige and money. And it's just kind of, you look at, then that's when I just started looking at war different. It's like there's not a good guy and a bad guy. Like literally, we just have to make a bad guy and tell everybody we are the good guys. And that Operation Paperclip, man, big eye opener.
Operation Paperclip is a crazy one too, because it's just like, and who knows how long this has been happening. Like I said, there's like, we're just now starting to record everything, and information's starting to be so widespread that we're starting to see stuff like this as possible. But like, where I mean, because we technically, like, quote unquote, won the war. Yeah, we put these people on trial, the Nuremberg trials, and then we pick the ones that have the most valuable information, which it's about 1,600 of them that are like imported into our military, government, like agencies, different places, and it's a lot of stuff where it's like biochemical warfare, rockets, like technology, like the people that were doing the most killing.
Right. So these weren't the soldiers that were just shooting people, or these weren't the guys that were gassing up the chambers. These were the guys figuring out how to run the whole operations and do these terribly horrendous things. And we used them to come and join our team. And then now we got all that technology and stuff. And so we are just bigger and badder and stronger and, and it's interesting. And instead of shaming that technology, we absorbed it and used it.
Yeah, I mean, and then you look at like, I mean, throughout our history, like going forward, I mean, in Vietnam, Iraq, the first time, like like that we've done Desert Storm. I mean, we had all these different times where we've basically gone in and just tried to have like government change. We change out the government.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Every time.
We try to go in and change out their government to a government that will basically steal from their people and give us their resources. And a lot of times, these dictators will do it.
It's a great opportunity for them.
Yeah, they make a lot of money.
Yep.
And then eventually, we have Gaddafi's and Saddam Hussein's who eventually go off script, and America's like, wait a minute, and goes over there and pretends like they're doing a good job, but they were put in charge by America in the first place a lot of times.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I saw something about Saddam Hussein working in the CIA, and if you Google that, it looks legit. It's just weird, man.
Yeah, I know that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, there's so many cases where like our government is involved in the reasons why we're in war. They're starting the wars in order for somebody to make money.
Right. Like, I'm not saying Saddam Hussein was ever on the payroll for the CIA, but to think that the CIA never gave any money to him.
Oh, it's the same with the Osama bin Laden and like the whole 9/11 crew. Like,
yes.
there's evidence out there that those guys were trained or paid by the CIA to do the thing. Yeah, to do 9/11 and the post like anthrax terrorist attacks after 9/11. Like, so, I mean, the Pearl Harbor, might have been a thing our
That
government
was
did.
another thing. Yeah,
There's just like
it's
it
like we
just
let these things happen so we can go to
so we're
war.
warmonger. Like we almost encourage these things to happen.
Yeah.
We might not be the ones that pull the trigger, but it's like we're giving them the weapons, we're giving them the training, and then when they do something stupid with it, we're like, oh, we got to go kill them. But we're the ones creating the situation, and
Yeah.
it's a weird thought to process when you realize that like all these different people that used to work for weapons companies are now like government secretary of defense Lloyd Austin, former director of Raytheon. That's happening right now. Like, and it's just like this is a never ending circle jerk of them just screwing us over.
Dude, and then I saw, that Ford Motor Company was it's like making engines for the Nazis, and Boeing, who was one of the top guys now in defense military contracts, was making the planes for the Nazis. I mean, how they were allowed to do that, it's interesting. We're not saying it's bad or good. We're just saying it's different than you've been told.
Very different. Some would say the Nazis didn't lose the war; they just relocated.
Right. A lot of them did relocate to America, and not in like prisons and frowned upon either. I mean, they were put in leadership positions.
No, all these dudes are dead now, but that's just like, they've left a legacy behind in
Yeah.
like the way our government and military operates.
No, right. I mean, these guys they headed the direction of the government agencies.
Yeah. I mean, they led NASA during the moon launch. There was, oh God, I can't think of these dudes' names,
Yeah,
but
there's a lot of them, and they went to like little military bases and air force bases, and some of these bases are already closed down now and
like
stuff.
heads of vaccines departments, like biochemical weapons, like they were the leads in our military for a generation. I mean, they, like I said, they're all dead and gone now, but their legacy is left behind. And I mean, if you look at other, like just the way our military is operated in the last 100 years, we do seem to be like, I mean, people joke about Team America World Police, but we have more military bases in the world than any other country by far.
So, right. So when I joined the army, I thought I was joining the world police. That's how I used to look at it. But now I look at it as the world bullies.
Yeah, I mean, they still are the world police, but you realize the world doesn't need police.
Right. No, they don't. Yeah.
And most of the places we're quote unquote policing couldn't affect the world stage. Now, going forward in these, what's happening right now with Russia and China, like Russia and China are world powers that are formidable to the United States, but I'm still trying to figure out who exactly is the good guy. I don't know that any of them are, to be honest. Like,
Dude, okay, so maybe maybe the younger people are starting to see that America's not always the good guys like we're told, because right now the recruiting is so low that they had to ask the 2,000 people, the 2,000 soldiers that would not take the COVID shot, to come back. Say, hey guys, we need you back. Come back. You're welcome to come back. You don't have to take the COVID shot.
yeah.
That's just crazy.
I do think that it's a good sign. Like we're seeing, like the recruiting numbers being way down. I think they're like 15,000 short of the people they wanted to recruit this past year. I think that's like I think that is one of those signs where like maybe more and more people are less willing to fight for something they don't know what they're fighting for. I mean, like I said, when we were in high school and 9/11 happened, I was ready to go. Like our country like was attacked and we need to defend ourselves. This is ridiculous. Like we can't allow this to happen. And then you realize like, maybe our government paid for it to happen. But even before I even knew that, like you just see how they took one thing and transitioned us into the next and into the next and into the next. And you hear about there was supposedly a 10-year plan where they were supposed to attack 7 different Middle Eastern countries in 10 years. And, like, some of these plans got prolonged and derailed, but you're starting to watch this stuff. Like, I mean, we've been in Syria. We're messing with Iran constantly. Like,
Oh, right, because plans adjust. I mean, a
yeah.
10-year plan adjusts, every 6 months or so, 3 months or so.
But, I mean, you just see, like, that we live in this constant state of never-ending war, and
Yep.
we don't even call it war. We've technically haven't been in a war since World War II because of the way our government works, so they feel better about themselves. We haven't declared war.
Right, we haven't declared it. It's
Like,
almost like imperialism. It's like we're just conquering in little places. We're still doing that. And if not conquering, we're using their resources.
yeah, like that's exactly it. We're just like we're setting up proxy governments to like funnel their resources to our rich people.
Yep, that's it. We don't even benefit from these places, man. Just the rich people in the United States benefit from it.
That's the thing is
It'd be totally
there's-
different if the country benefited.
they're sending our poor people there to die, and the poor people aren't even benefiting. The military people, like I said, 30% of veterans suffer from PTSD. 18% of veterans end up homeless. Like there's a giant amount of veterans that can't afford to live currently that are active duty right now. Like the military doesn't even pay the soldiers enough to survive in the economy they created. Like
Right, and it's once you get out of the military and America is the number one depressed country in the whole world. So, not only do we got, the PTSD and like you said, the financial hardship for being a soldier, just think about all the regular society and cultural depression things that the soldiers are dealing with too. I mean, it's just so compounded. It's a scary situation, I think, right now.
we have created such a materialistic society that like I mean the idea of going to war to fight for more resources just seems like a natural thing. Like I mean like you said we're the most depressed because we're constantly seeking something. We need it, we need it, we need it, and like soldiers come back and face that same pressure and they've lived such a different like life for whatever amount of time it was that you like especially anybody that saw active duty like in a war zone like those people lived a different lifestyle than this hunt for shiny objects world gives us. So like
And a lot of times the continent or country they're in, those people aren't even nearly as materialistic as Americans either.
no, and then it's like yeah, that's what you I mean you said it like people go over there and realize they're not fighting the battle they thought they were fighting.
Exactly. You're over and you're like, these are bad guys? Wait, I'm the terrorist.
Yeah, I'm in their homeland destroying shit right now. Why
Right,
wouldn't they
shooting
be
people.
mad?
Like I would be so pissed if there was people walking down my streets doing this shit. I'd shoot every motherfucker right now. And like,
Yeah.
like there ain't no way anyone in America would ever get away with that shit. But here, like we're told that hey, y'all go do it, and you're the good guys. Like, man, I'm surprised they're not shoving us full of drugs, just to psychotic drugs. I mean, to brainwash us even more.
I mean,
I guess they've realized propaganda is more better than chemical.
yeah, they just brainwash you from the time you're a
Yep.
little one, so you think you're doing the right thing. And we look at like, I mean, Israel Hamas thing right now, where you can watch videos of these little kids talking about killing people on the other side, and like, that's how these things happen. Those things are bred like are taught like they're not like something we're born with. We're not born with hate. Like
No.
those kids born anywhere else in the world wouldn't just immediately think they need to kill a Jew or a Palestinian. Like that's not how this works. But like, and then like I mean, you just see it extrapolated out into all these different areas. It's easy for us to judge them because we're outside of it and we're like, oh, they're just brainwashed. But like, what are we doing around the world constantly? We have like 700 military bases, and right now, like, look around. Like, you can pull up a map and you can see how we have military bases completely surrounding China and Russia and all of these people that are like, our enemies. But like, if you check where they have military bases, our borders are not completely surrounded by other people's military bases. And you can say it's because we don't allow it, but like the thing is like, why
Right,
do you think the
we don't allow it, right?
yeah, why do you think these people don't like us if we have like warships and planes just waiting to go attack at any moment?
Right. And when you think about it in a global perspective, there's some countries that are staying away. They don't want to be involved in all this global war. You know, in the news, we're seeing that Iran's military and terrorists who are funding Hamas are going to attack U.S. bases. I mean, they're not attacking us in the U.S., are they? Like, what do you mean they're attacking our U.S. bases? Well, we got U.S. bases in where? Germany. We got some in Asia. We got some in Hawaii, right? No, we got the fucking things all in these desert countries. Why? You guys don't even know about this shit. We got these stupid bases, and they're like, we're gonna go attack them, and like people, what? Like, oh wait, we can't be standing for Iran attacking our bases and our soldiers. What do you mean?
Why are we?
Why are
Why
we
do we
even
have bases
over?
on their borders?
Why,
Yeah.
why do we even have bases in anywhere near them? And then these people are saying, well, I guess it's got to be for national security. It's got to be for safety.
And then you see in like the 80s or whatever where Biden is talking about like if there wasn't an Israel, we'd have to invent an Israel.
Right.
And it's just like, well, why do we have to have so much presence in that area? Why do we need to be in that area? Well, and then everybody wants to like condemn you for saying, oh, well, it must be for their oil because that's a valuable resource in the
We
world.
have the highest GDP, number one. That's about the only thing America's number one that's good at is its GDP. Think of how awesome this country could be. Think of how easy your life could be if the government used that in a different way than funding wars all over the world. I mean, that's a huge thing to hit you right there.
Yeah, when you see that since 2014, the Pentagon has spent like $15 trillion on wars around the world.
And that's just in like a small time frame.
That's 10 years. Like that's an unfathomable amount of money for most people. Like we can't even imagine that. And
they can only account for half of it in their audits.
I don't even think they can account for half of
Not
it.
even half of it can they account for. So where do you think that other trillions of unaccounted dollars is going for, guys? Do you think it's just getting lost in the army or the military?
They don't lose our money, the taxes that we have to pay. They don't.
Right. The IRS doesn't lose your money, does it? No. We know where the money's going. It's going to corporations for projects. And this money is building up shareholders, it's building up the CEOs, most of the shareholders. And who's the shareholders? Go look that up. And it's not just regular citizens. It's not mutual fund like holdings and stuff.
I mean, you can go down
that's
the rabbit hole, man. There is like the asset holding groups that control the most of the world.
Money that goes into the Pentagon is just mind blowing. And they're not like going to try to get better at it. Like they're not getting in trouble for not having accounting. It's just like they're black projects. I mean, hopefully you guys know what black projects are.
I guess until we stop letting our government just send all our money to war, like we're going to keep seeing the like rise in inflation and I mean our higher costs in fuel. Like all these things are driven up by like all these conflicts and it just keeps getting worse and worse. Like you were saying, imagine a world where we weren't Team America World Police, where we did just take care of our borders and take care of our homeless. Like, and there's nothing wrong with being like, I know the world's not perfect and it's not going to be perfect tomorrow. There's not like, I don't think guns are I don't think guns are a bad thing. I mean, people like can use these tools appropriately. The wars are the weapons of war have gotten out of hand, and it's way too crazy now. But we have to be able to defend ourselves in a world where things aren't perfect.
Dude, I mean, I don't want to sound like one of them crazy people who's like, praying to artificial intelligence as a god or anything or a savior. But I mean, if you look at history, man has done so much death and destruction to man. And the way we're going now is not the direction I want to go into. Like, we are not moving in a direction of oneness and wholeness and love. Like, I'm like, speed up those AIs that can break people free. I mean, show them the lies. I mean, show them the truth too. I mean, you can't go to someone and just start speaking truth to them because you'll sound like a crazy person. It's almost like you got to go in little layers. I think we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, man, that it's the like shocking somebody by kind of destroying everything they believe in all at once is, and it's when you go after like religion and patriotism and stuff like that, you expect people to recoil and not listen. The thing is just kind of like make your decisions based in love, and you'll start seeing that a lot of these truths and lies just kind of start showing themselves. Like, I mean, especially nowadays with the amount of information that's out there, like, it's easy to see that our government's constantly lying to us. And just like, I mean,
And it's the government we vote for.
yeah.
It's like we're sitting here, we vote for somebody, and they go in there, and then they get in the system. It doesn't matter who they are; they get in the system. People's like, "Hey, sign up for your insurance, sign up for your stocks and bonds. All right, here's this. All right, you're in the club now." And then after a while, you see your bank account go. You're networking. You're drinking the best booze every night. You're having sex with the best women every night, the biggest cocks every night. I mean, it is the best life ever. And then it's like, all right, well, what's on the agenda today? Let's see, war. I mean, this and that. It's nothing good stuff. And then we're wondering, like, we don't want to go to war. We voted for you, and you didn't want to go to war either. But now everyone's going to war. Both sides are saying we should go to war. But no one we voted for who was against war is speaking up about it.
And that's the thing. It's a follow the money type situation everywhere. Everywhere you go, if you feel like something is amiss and you've been lied to and you've been told that this is good for you and you need to do it and you feel like it's obviously bad, see where the money's going. Like, you'll see that the same few places are the ones making the decisions underneath everything, and that our best interest is never the ones being looked out at. I mean, we're we're just guinea pigs, and the military is one of the biggest pieces of evidence towards that, in my opinion. Like, I mean, they don't care about their soldiers, and this is one of the biggest businesses in America. Like, it makes more money than any other thing in America. Like, the defense systems, and then it's followed up by, I think, by the pharmaceutical companies, which is like, it's a ridiculous amount of money is spent on military, and none of it is funneled through to the people that are the ones being punished by the wars.
No, you know, and it's none of the people. That's right. It's not being given back to the veterans like it should be. It's not given back to society. It's almost like the military industrial complex is using soldiers to do all this fighting and just sucking the resources out of all the average citizens of the country, through taxation, and just fees and stuff. And instead of the government having a good return on investment of its taxes for good programs for health and wellness, it's using it for the war machine. And the war machine is just making rich people richer because it's not, poor people coming up with the best new weapons.
Plus, it's also like, we'll talk about, like, creating systems of scarcity, or creating systems of surplus, and war only creates scarcity. I mean, they're using up these resources to create machines that have a very limited lifespan. If you look at, like, the way that our military, only the newest, coolest weapons are usable in war. So, like, once they come up with a new cool thing, we sell all our stuff to these Middle Eastern countries, and then eventually they get enough weapons to try to fight against us, and then we, you've seen it.
It's just a big circle. I mean,
Like, they're not creating things to help improve society. None of these companies that are making we're talking about the number one GDP. Well, that's part of it. Like, I mean, the reason why America makes so much money in these weapons is because we're like licensed like death merchants.
that's like the Lord of War movie. Have you ever seen that?
That's exactly what I was thinking about when I said that. It's just like you're just seeing like once
We are
like,
the Lord of War.
yeah, and us in Russia, like it was post Cold War, after the Cold War, when we had all these stockpiles of weapons and didn't know what to do with them. Us in Russia are just like, sell it to these countries. So we all have different allies in the Middle East to fight against each other. We gave them weapons, and then
It's almost like a gentleman's game of chess.
it is, man, and we just keep doing it, and like that's what I'm saying. Instead of spending all this same money in order to like make real food instead of synthetic food that we're making now in this country, like if we were figuring out ways to home the homeless, like like that would be stuff where it's people are like, oh, they got all my taxes, and if they raise our taxes anymore, like I'm gonna blah blah blah. But like we don't. Let's face it, America has not stood up for themselves in a long time, and like they're gonna keep taking your taxes. Like at least like make them do something that's worthwhile with it. Like we are just burning money to go fight in places that aren't helping anyone here.
And so many people are okay with it, especially the older people. I mean, there's this girl that walked in the other day, and she was also a veteran, and she's like, "Man, can you believe that people are trying to talk more about Taylor Swift than they are the war going on right now?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely, I can. I think we should be talking about more artistic things than war all the time, actually." So I'm actually happy to see that somewhere in society, someone's talking more about an artist than war.
I guess I would have to say it depends on the circumstance, man. Because like right now, it's just like I do think that if like people are talking about war, like we have a lot of like virtue signaling where people are like, I have to support this and I have to support that because we believe this, and it's just like if we're not talking about war and how do we end war, like how like the fact that our country is not the ones that are brokering peace deals in the Middle East and not brokering peace deals among like Ukraine and Russia. We could have stopped this before it ever started. We've encouraged this entire thing.
Dude, I know this guy. He told me last week he came in. He's an Air Force veteran, and he's a current Bible school teacher. And he said, "I guess the only way for there to be peace is just to bomb them all and kill them all." And it's just like, what? That is not going to solve anything.
And then you think,
That's going to create so much more hate what? Oh my God! And so now I'm thinking, like, if this guy is in this nice community, leadership position, and he's disseminating information to others, his philosophy has got to be um, handed out and proselytized, just like whatever he's talking about. And so he can't be the only one with these thoughts, and that's kind of strange and scary.
no, I mean, and I think that's an shoot. We've heard that since 9/11. Like, might as well just bomb the Middle East and start over.
Yep.
And it's just like we have been conditioned to think that those people are so different than us, and it really like there are places that were operating much worse in the world that we didn't care about because they didn't have
Something we want.
oil reserves underneath their land, and just it was turned into a very easy thing to do because they have a different religion than us. So I mean,
We are desensitized to humanity living in America.
yeah,
I
like
mean,
these places, like
the best thing you guys can do is get out of America and go explore other countries and cultures, and then come back and see the difference. and you'll understand why other countries that are equal on par with America, developed countries, look at us as we're a bully, as we're not safe, as we're a bunch of heathens. And it's not because we're not Christ followers, okay? It's because of our actions. It's not because of our morals and dogma of our religion. And go, go see the other places. It's eye opening.
Yeah, most of these people in places that we're at war with just want to be left alone. The and the like the crazy thing is there are like, like Hamas, and but Hamas was voted in, by the way. Like, they were democratically voted in, and that is due to actions like us constantly interfering and being involved in their politics. So extremist groups who are saying death to America and get them out of here are supported in some of those places because of our actions. Like, and that's the thing, is like, we are looked at as bullies in those places because most of those countries don't have the capability to even fight us in a war. Similar to Ukraine and Russia. Ukraine has no ability to fight Russia in a war.
Dude,
We've sent Ukraine so many weapons, and they're running out of people to use the weapons we're sending them.
dude, ain't no one gonna mess with America like in America.
No. And we know that, and that's why we can just go around and, like, that's what
That's
I'm saying.
right.
We
We
could
know that.
save so much money and just defend ourselves and have such a better place to live in. Instead, we use our public money to funnel through, like,
To the private money.
yeah, to build stuff that eventually gets sent to wars, to places we go to war with.
And then the people that are in charge of these corporations go on the joint chief of staff and the positions that you get to pick as leaders and authority figures, and advisors.
The ones that pledge weapons to these countries used to be the ones that sat on the boards for these weapons companies.
And they don't just sit on a board, they get paid to sit on the board. They sit on a bunch of money and they get to make decisions about where your money goes. That's what it means. Man, well, I think we covered a lot today.
Yeah, man. I think that people have a little bit more awareness of where their military spending and the humanitarianism that is the American war machine.
I think the ways things are going now, I think we're going to see a lot more military pride and not support of. I think we're going to see more extremism on both sides of supporting pro-military and anti-military.
I think we'll see a similar amount of polarization as we did during the Vietnam War.
do too.
Like, and I mean, to be honest, I'm a little bit excited about it. Like I said, and I support the service members out there. Everybody has to do what you got to do. I would just encourage you to look at
Yeah.
at who's making the decisions for you, and don't and don't die for something that you don't believe in, please.
Dude, it's like, right. It's like when I was younger, I didn't know what to believe, but I kind of wanted to believe in something. And so I chose, America and Jesus. But once you know what it is, and you don't have to just find something to believe, and you know the truth, I wouldn't join the army again, to put it that way. If I would have found pot like you when I was in high school, I would have moved to California, started a business, and lived in California and did some cool shit, I guess. I don't know.
Dude, when I was younger, I kind of was still on the fence of, like, maybe I'm the crazy one. Everybody else seems to think that, oh, everything we're doing around here is righto, and I'm the only one that thinks that we're doing things wrong. So
You were like that back in the day. Now it's still like that now, isn't it?
yeah, I mean,
Have you seen it change? Have you seen more people come around like you?
I have, and like I said, I've looked at all this, like the woke movement and Black Lives Matter and all these things that have just been, like, so polarizing in the news, just like as one of the most positive things ever, because I've just kind of watched the system that everybody was so in love with start to fall apart, and it's seeing the military recruits going down, a lot of these things are very, very positive to me. It looks like chaos is ensuing, but
We
I
got to
mean,
have a breakdown before
yeah,
we can have a breakthrough.
order will come out of the disorder, and it's
Yes.
just like to see that everybody realizing they don't know, like what they've been told is bullshit, and what we're doing is wrong, and we need to fix it is a good thing. There's a lot of misguided energy out there right now, and that's kind of why we're here to just we want to tell people that we know things are messed up, but start living in love, and you will start to find that like these other things will go away. We have to change the system grassroots style. Like you can't
That's
just
right.
vote Democrat, Republican and expect one of like us to not be at war.
Grassroots, and it starts with love, and it ends with love. Like there's not violence in there at all, man.
No, like that we do speak of like we'll say the words revolution a lot, but it's very peaceful. Like I don't there's no like we don't want to be the next version of just the bad guy that everybody has to listen to. Like that's the whole thing is like we've kind of learned that it's just like the America that was so great that we're told about was just the best bully in the world, and nobody could tell us not to be a bully. Like in that, and
We need like some modern day, person, example, idol, to just will be sacrificed for the good of all the country. Because like I don't know, Jesus or Gandhi or someone, these monks in Vietnam who burned themselves on fire just because of the Catholics persecuting him and Americans persecuting him. I mean, we need someone to stand up for our rights, man, as humans.
I feel like we've tried that so many times where it's just been the one guy,
And then he
like,
gets killed.
and we expect that, and that's the thing is
I
like
know.
we're expecting outside salvation everywhere, and it's just
That's right.
salvation's within.
It is. That's where I was getting at. It's it within. And how many people can raise their hand and say, "I know that salvation is within"?
Yeah, man.
I mean, I think that's what Jesus taught. I mean, did he say the kingdom of heaven is within you?
Kingdom of heaven is within you,
That's what
and
salvation is, right? Going to heaven.
and we've got the opportunity. We like we're only showing you this stuff to let you know that like there's a better world we could create. Like we have the opportunity to create a
Yes.
magnificent place when we
And first, that starts with you. You got to create a good you before you can create a good place. So start on that work. I mean, the inner work's harder than helping someone else do their work.
yeah guys, thanks for coming along. Enjoy talking to y'all every time. Keep riding those waves of revolution. Peace out.